Welcome back to another video. It's Bradford v Newport County match reaction. Let me know your thoughts on the game in the comments down below, your player ratings in the community tab or in the comments down below. And it's a massive 2 points dropped again today. Thought Walsall were, but I thought, well, if we beat Newport, then it's probably a point gained against Walsall, and then we go into Hartlepool, who were down there and pretty struggling. Two teams we've drawn against who are two teams who are mid-table. Newport are 18th, they're 10 points away from relegation zone and around 20 points away from the top 6. And Walsall as well, they haven't won since New Year's Day. 14th, they're not going down at all, and they're not going up. I think they're 12 points away from Salford. If we lost today, Mark Hughes could have then seen it as, right, I've got to change the team now, I've got to change stuff up because it's not working. But because of a point, we haven't lost, and he'll take the positives. He'll say again, we're in a good position. We've lost 2 games in 14, 5 unbeaten, won a decent run, and we've put ourselves in a good position to get in a good to make a push for the top 3. Come the final few games. But it's another point dropped, and it's again for the wrong reasons. We're not creative. We're not creating chances. Because Andy Cook, where would we be without Andy Cook? A fantastic solo goal again, scrappy, he gets a touch of the ball, holds the defender off, chops another defender and then smashes it into a net. Where would we be without him? Another individual goal from him and another game where he's won as a point. The goal we conceded were poor. I think they, on the balance, they probably did deserve to win more than we did. We were too predictable because of the diamond. Our only options are to play it through the middle. When we play it right, it comes back into a middle. They set up in a 3-5-2. So really, they were just trying to nullify our midfield and stop us from playing it through to midfield. So we played it wide because there's no wide options for us. So I thought they probably defended well, if I'm being honest, because they stopped that threat from midfield. But it's us for not adapting quick enough. It took us. Banks came on in the 73rd minute for Gilead, and then East came on in the 82nd with Chapman. That's too late. We should have. I don't know how Costello survived that long. I like him as well. I like his strength. I like his movement. He attracts players away from Andy Cook, which is all good. But when he gets the ball, it's technically not good enough. He had a good chance where it opened up and he had a shot straight into the keeper's hand. It was a timid effort, and he just ain't good enough technically on the ball. I can see why Burnley like him and company, and the think that he can make it, because he's like I said before, he's got it in the head. He just can't produce it, and he's on loan for us. He's not like he's our academy prospect. He ain't like he's come through our team or he's contracted to us for a couple of years like probably Jake Young is. I think he's 2-3 years or initial 2 year and a possibility of a 3-year deal. I'd see more use of using Jake Young on Lewis briefly with that red card appeal from Newport. It's a very valid appeal. Obviously, because of the rugby marks, he thinks that's where the thing is. And I thought that reflected the first half. If you look at that, that's what we were. We were sloppy. We looked tired. To summarise, we've got no balance. If we're playing the diamond, we've got to play Clayton, one of Smallwood or Gilead, and East. Or if you're not playing East, put a Chapman in there for a bit of flexibility, because we're too predictable and there's not enough creativity in there. And like I said, he ain't the balance. When East came on, and for the 10 minutes or so that he was on the pitch, he wanted to get on the ball. He came deep for the ball, and his first thought was to play it forward. Smallwood gets the ball and he either panics on it. He ain't creative enough. I do like Smallwood and I like Gilead, and they've got a real good role in the team. But you can't have 3 defensive midfielders. You can accept 2, but not 3. We're too defensive. There's not enough creativity, and we're too predictable. We've got to change something up next weekend. We've had the same team be put out there for 5 consecutive games, and you'll say, or anyone could say, well, we're 5 unbeaten. There's no real reason to change it. But the performances haven't been good enough, and I think these 2 draws that we've had have been coming for a while because teams, 1, are sussing us out, and 2, we're not looking convincing. So into the player ratings, Harry Lewis, I mean, you've got to give him a 2 really for the mistake. I think it's, like I said, it summed up the first half really. Players were tired making stupid errors, so for that you've got to ask questions of what he was thinking. lack of concentration for that. He made some good saves. Could have cost us that game. But if that got given as a red, it shouldn't have been a red because there wasn't anyone challenging him, and it can't have been denied a goal scoring opportunity, because if he didn't do it, he could have just kicked it out. So I agree with the ref. I don't think it was a red, but another ref could have given it as a red. So I don't think we would have had many complaints, but I can see why the ref didn't give it. Made a few good saves, and then the goal, I don't think I can blame him for it because I think there's too much pace on it and he's reacted late, so I can't really give him that. But for the lack of concentration, conceding a goal, I'm giving him a 2. Brad Halliday gets a 3. He constantly gets 3s. I don't think a 3 is average, so it's not bad. It's just that he needs to be better, and I think if him and Rydell had a winger in front of them, they'd be a lot better, not only to cover for them defensively, because I don't think Smode and Gilead covered them enough, even though they try to cover as much ground as they can. I don't think they really covered them enough because they're more box-to-box midfielders, so they find it hard to get back themselves. And going forward, I think they both have something to improve on, so they're both getting 3s. I don't think they did pot badly defensively. It's probably the strongest, but going forward again, there's a lot more to be admired. So Matty Platt and Stubbs both get 4s. I thought they're probably man of match contenders because we didn't do anything going forward, and I thought them two dealt with a lot of balls into the box, first to every ball really. They didn't cause us too much problem with their direct approach and the corners that came in. There were a couple where we didn't really mark up, but I thought them two were pretty solid, and if it weren't for a bit of a fluke goal, then we would have had another clean sheet. Adam Clayton, he gets a 4. Again, I don't think he was a problem. I thought he controlled the game well. The only player who seemed to control the game at all. We were panicking a lot on the ball. He won a lot of free kicks, used his experience. The problem were Smallwood and Gilead, because it's not them. I'm not criticising them. It's just that Hughes is. You can't just be picking your favourites constantly. You can't have 3 defensive midfielders that don't give any creativity. So one of Gilead or Smallwood have to come out of the team. So they both get a 2. Their strengths are not to be driving forward and creating chances. Their strengths are to big, solid defensively, to run around a lot and to put tackles in, not to be creating chances. And I think it's not their fault why they had a bad game today. It's more Hughes for asking them to do something they're not good at. Jamie Walker 3. I think he had a lot of the ball in good areas, didn't create enough with the ball he had. But then you can blame that on not having any options, because there weren't any options out wide, obviously, with the formation we're playing, Halliday and Rydell not getting forward enough. And then Costello wasn't making any much movement in behind, and Cook were trying his best. So yeah, I can give him a 3, because he had a lot of the ball and he got on the ball, but he didn't do enough with it. Costello gets a 2, bordering on a 1. I like him, like I say, he's got the technical brain, he can't do it with his feet, and it's not his fault why he's playing every week, because he ain't good enough to play every week. I think what we've got to do is we've got to change to a 4-2-3-1. I can only see him, I can only excuse him playing a diamond next week if Derbyshire's fit or Issa's fit, and even Issa, that's round pegging square hole. He ain't a striker, and he's more of a pacey winger who's suitable to play on the counter attack really. So I can only excuse him sticking with a diamond if Derbyshire's fit to play next week, and even if he is, he probably shouldn't be going straight back into a team. So next week, Costello's got to come out because he ain't good enough. That's just the harsh truth of it. You shouldn't be playing players who aren't good enough if you want to be going up. When we've got players like Chapman, Banks, even players like Pereira who are lurking in the dark, who should be able to take their place, and Hughes should have more trust to put them in the team. So yeah, I don't think he was good enough today, and he hasn't been for the last few games really. Andy Cook gets a 4, even bordering on a 5. I don't think he did anything wrong, chasing every ball. His work rate's unbelievable, holding the ball up, trying to link others in, and then scored a solo goal. We were all down to him. Takes the player on, hits into a back of the net, and was that his 23rd goal of the season in all competitions, or 22nd? He's reached 20 goals in League 2 now, first player to do that this season, and he's simply unbelievable. I thought he was fantastic today, and if we won that game, it would have been all down to Andy Cook, so he's my man of match. So that result leaves us 6th for 59 points, a couple of points, 4 points off third Stevenage, and we've got to bounce back against Hartlepool next Saturday. And we've got to change it up, like I say. Hughes cannot stick with the same team again, and if he does, then I think we've got to start questioning him. Question his favourites, question his thought process behind what he's actually thinking, because we've got to be the points difference for Mansfield have 2 games in hand and the 4 points behind us. Win them 2 to go above us. Stevenage have a game in hand on us. They can go further 3 points ahead of us. There's teams who have harder run-ins than us, and Stevenage have been slipping all over the place recently. They've still got to play Carlisle, Northampton, Salford. That's in the next 4, and then after that they've got Doncaster, Swindon, Mansfield, Barrow. You know, there's room for slip up for Stevenage, and Carlisle, their running is incredibly tough for them. So there's room for them to slip up as well. They just came over a win against Swindon today, but then they've got Stevenage next Saturday, and then they've got us. Gillingham, that's the only team they have to play who isn't really challenging for anything. Leyton Orient, Tranmere, Walsall, Northampton, Stockport, Barrow, Salford and Sutton. They've got a very tough run in, and like I say, we just haven't capitalised on it. Let me know your thoughts on the game in the comments down below. Subscribe if you're new. I want to try and get 100 subscribers before the end of the season. Like the video if you liked it. Have a good one.